Show brought to you by Zazzle. Use promo code TechTheShow10 and get 10% off any order over $50 from Zazzle.com.
Amazon seemed to ignite a fire in the ebook market. The world's largest bookseller came out with its Kindle, which impressed a lot of technology journalists, and a lot of companies have followed suit since then. Today we're seeing a report that says the iPhone might be the next biggest e-reading device where people will be checking out these ebooks. But also we're seeing companies like Creative and others come out with new ebook readers almost every week. Is this actually a market that's going to be big? Are people actually going to be interested in reading books electronically right now? Or does the market still have some time to go before it's actually serious? Maybe these companies should save their money. We're bringing a couple technology journalists to talk about that. First off, Dan Frommer from the Business Insider. Dan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Also, Peter Rojas from GDGT. Peter, thanks for being with us as well.
Thanks for having me on again.
This is it's an interesting situation. I've used the Kindle. I was pretty excited when it came out, but realistically, people outside of New York who don't commute on the subway don't have a huge use for this ebook reader. Dan, what's your take on the ebook reading market in general? Is there actually a market there?
I think there will be one day. It makes sense for books to move electronically the same way music did, and using reading news and stuff like that. It's going to take some time. I don't think that the Kindle that we see today or anything like it is necessarily going to be the gadget that tens of millions of people buy. And one of the reasons you mentioned the iPhone becoming a big one, a lot of that's just the installed base. There's something like 50 million people with iPhones and iPod Touches, and naturally, even if the same percent of those people buy ebooks as people who own Kindles, that's a lot more raw people in general. I read books sometimes on my iPhone. I don't own a Kindle yet, and I'm kind of waiting to see what the next generation is, but I do think there will be something there eventually.
Yeah, so Peter, is there one thing that you think is stopping people, or do you think the market's already there? Kind of what's your take?
Well, I think the biggest obstacle is that most people don't read books of any kind, paper books or electronic books. I think if you see surveys, most people after they graduate high school never read any books really at all, and so I think that's sort of the biggest challenge. But assuming if we look at people that do buy books, and there are still a lot of us out there, even if there aren't as many as there used to be, I think the challenge has been showing that you have to make the integration of the service and the device easy enough so people will buy books electronically when it might have been more convenient for them to carry around a paper book before. And I think that's one of the things that Kindle did really well, was to integrate the service with the device.
Was that sort of the iPod moment, where iTunes sort of took off because the iTunes store was built in and people kind of saw that as the value add, do you think? Or is that really the missing piece? Is that store sort of fleshing out, Peter?
Well, I think that's an important component to it. I think one of the ebook readers have is that most people, a lot of people, when they buy or bought their first MP3 player, or was an iPod or something else, they actually might have had a lot of MP3 music in MP3 format already on their computer, and a lot of that either ripped from CDs or downloaded off the web, either legally or whatever. There isn't really that same sort of market for ebooks, right? Most people can't rip an ebook, and most people don't have a collection of ebooks that they can acquire off the web very easily. And so I think that is sort of one of the challenges. Is you have to get over the cost of buying Kindle in the first place, which is $260. The Nook, I think, is about the same, and Sony's line of ebook readers are in that range. But then on top of that, you have to pay what feel like kind of exorbitant prices for the ebooks themselves. Something that the New York Times bestsellers are $10 a pop, but you can pay sometimes $18, $20, $30 for an electronic title.
It's almost like
which
a textbook.
Seems a little expensive.
Yeah, definitely. It seems a little pricey. So Dan, what's the future? Is there sort of a breaking point that you see? Is it lowering the prices of books, making them more available, or sort of what's sort of the next step for ebook readers, if there is one?
I think the obvious next step is that ebook readers themselves have to get less expensive. I think one of the reasons that maybe the iPhone is successful is that it's something people already have. Everyone's going to have a cell phone, and a lot of people are getting smartphones. The ability for someone to spend $300, $400 on a separate e-reader device is just not something that most people have. But as they get cheaper, $99, maybe $150 or something like that, I think that more people will try one and will pick one up. And as Peter was saying, the ability to take all these books that I bought on Amazon in print over the last year and haven't read yet, if I could somehow pick those up on a Kindle right away, I think I'd be more likely to use it and maybe recommend other people to buy one.
Yeah. Well, just definitely see where it goes. I mean, the jury's out for me. Maybe, I guess more web content, using the ebook reader as sort of a longer form web content. I don't know, something like that might be more apt for me, as I'm not picking up as many books as I used to. Plus, the library still works for me, so go figure. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it there. Dan Fromer from the Business Insider, thanks for being on the program. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, Peter Rojas from GDGT, thanks for being on the show as well.
Thanks very much.
I'm Randall Bennett. Don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes. We're on YouTube. And check out our special site relaunch. It's at techv.com if you don't come back on the site on a regular basis, if you're checking out just on YouTube or whatever. Anyway, see you later.